and I got booed all the way from 125th Street to 68th Street, Hunter College on the 6th.
Walk out.
And I was like,
You got booed for 60 blocks? Dude.
Tickets are on sale for KFC Radio Live. Click the link in the bio. Get yours. Come out and hang with the boys. Multiple people have told me this about you, and I think it's like one of the best things that can be said is that you will clear any room in New York City, in any city, and that nobody likes to follow you on stage.
nobody's going to admit to that. No, a lot of people tell me they don't want to follow me on stage, but there's a lot of people I don't want to follow on stage, you know? I think it's not so much that I'm like, oh, this, I mean, I'm pretty good. But I think it's just my energy and vibe, more so that
they're high, they're low, and vice versa. Yeah,
but I also like to, I am very present on stage. So once you pull back that curtain of being aware on stage, it's hard to go back to be a comic that's like, I hope no glasses fall because I don't want to address it, right? Yeah. They don't want to go back to that. So I think that's probably, not to shit on that style, but I think that's probably why a lot of people don't like to follow me.
So you just kind of like, you're saying whatever happens, happens. Like that becomes part of the act.
Listen, I have no problem taking my set and putting it to the side. I also, my set is, I'm not to the pencil, right? So it's more of a vibe. I know when I do my set, and I can do it to, just rhythm. And then I know when I can like change things about it. I'm constantly changing my set according to how I need to deliver it to people, based on how smart they are.
Sure.
Based on how
drunk
aware,
they are,
right?
how big the
Aware,
room is. Yeah.
Right. So sometimes there's a shorthand. Sometimes I have to go more in depth. But I just try to be alive on the stage.
That's very impressive. I don't know why you saying breaking glass made me think of it, but like I've never even brought up with anybody before. Like I always think about that on like when I'm at a show. I'm always like, I can hear the fucking glasses clanging. I can hear someone whispering over here.
Yeah.
And I get angry myself because it's ruining my experience, but I also get like tense and uncomfortable for the comedian on stage. You just don't get that. I'm holding
like
that for you.
Shit. I mean, listen, if someone's like ruining the show, that sucks. But I think the club or the theater or whatever it is part of the experience. So like if there are glasses falling or there is somebody who's drunk or whatever, like that is part of what your experience is, and how the comic handles that, I think, is where it becomes really cool,
Well, people pay to come in and have an experience, right? And I know, unfortunately, I never got a chance to be an audience member because I started stand-up when I was 16, so I don't know what it feels like to be in a club and not know about what's happening on stage. But if people come in to have an experience, and you want to have the closest experience that comic wants to give you, right? You want to have that experience that the comic has. There's all this stuff they thought about. There's all these things that they're kind of like, what do you think about it? Because that's all comedy is like, we have these thoughts. What do you think about this? Has this happened to you? Do you like this? Are you scared of this? And then those things that we can relate to connect us on stage. Now, I'd like to have a pure experience of that.
Sure.
If something happens and it's unexpected, somebody trips, glass or whatever, I know how to roll with the punches of that, right? Sometimes it doesn't even need to be addressed if the audience is really engaged. I've had audiences where we so locked in, shit could be happening on the side, we don't care.
Nobody cares, yeah.
Sometimes it's so funny what's happening or so crazy what's happening that they're looking at me like, why wouldn't I address it?
Yeah.
Because the only thing worse is somebody pretending it's not happening and just trying to tell their punchlines, and it's like, bro, someone's puking on the fucking, whatever.
Listen, I died on stage already. You understand? Like, I got booed on Showtime at the Apollo years and years ago. I've had the work. Like, what else could happen?
That's got to be the lowest, right?
Right. So at this point, it's fine. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that I don't get into situations where I'm like, but I mean, I'm not afraid when I'm on stage. And some people haven't died on stage.
Right.
And then some people look so good on stage and have been so proficient on stage that they're nervous about the hiccup.
Yeah.
I don't mind being on stage doing well than hit a joke that doesn't do well.
Right.
I mean, I'm a human being. I don't know these people. They don't really know me.
Who fucking
and
cares?
we're just
Yeah,
vibing,
yeah,
right?
you
And
start
then we can
figuring it
just
out.
move on to something else.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal. Comedy is about the experience. Some people come and they want this certain level of proficiency. They want people to like wow them and knock them off their feet. And I think that there's a little responsibility also on the audience end. Come and just receive,
Yeah,
to
just
receive.
whatever happens, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that in a cocky way, like if somebody sucks, they suck.
Yeah.
But also come to receive if
Mm-hmm.
a comic's really trying to give it to you.
You mentioned people looking too good on stage. I think you were talking more about jokes. I think comedians are starting to look too good on stage. I think
there's a lot
I think the outfits are starting to be.
Yeah, well,
and I know that's
everybody
been.
got money now. All you guys are getting paid.
I think the it's always been so back in the day some people wore suits, some people wore this. I think I'm seeing too many leather jackets on stage, and I think I'm seeing too many pairs.
You know what
of,
it is about the leather jacket?
Too many people going to Flight Club.
It's not. Yeah. Yes. Like you just bought a pair of Jordans and a leather jacket. Because that's the thing. It's honestly, if that person always wore those things,
That's it.
then fine.
Yes.
If you wear Jordans and a leather jacket, you're all good. When it's like, oh, you just got your Netflix money and now you buy those things, and the first things you got are pretty tacky. And also it's like hot in here. Why are you wearing a leather jacket? And then it's just like, oh, you're trying to be something, which I guess is also fine. You want to like look a certain way and craft a certain image. But again, I think it's much more impressive and funny and an experience to just be like, this shit happened. Like, it was supposed to go left and we went right, and you know what I mean. And that's where I find out. That's where I find like the most memorable nights. I think as a fan are not like, oh, that's sad and those jokes. It's like, yeah, that was funny, but it's also like, remember that moment where this unexpected thing happened and you just take it and run with it. It's like, oh, now you're doing some shit,
There's a lot of things that are going on with stand up, and those things that are happening, whatever's happening to you as a stand up comic at that time is going to adjust or take you away from the authentic people seeing you live in a comedy club feel, right? So when I got to do the Degenerates, which was like 6 of us got a half hour to do the raunchiest material ever, and that's been years ago, and I feel bad for people who come see me because they're like, you don't talk about sex. I was like, yeah, well, all my sex stuff was there.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can get a little risque, but I'm more about the things that are happening in the world. But I had a full Beyonce, like, bedazzled, Jules is my stylist. That's Ricky Velez's wife, who is amazing. She puts me in so many amazing outfits. And we had this whole Beyonce dream. And then we got to Las Vegas and it was 111 degrees. And then I had to put on this see-through. We didn't expect to have it. So I didn't really have a bodysuit to put on underneath this thing that was completely see-through. But I needed to wear it because it was like 111 degrees. And they were pumping in all the air they could. I was sweating. So my boobs are out. And then people think like, oh, she's a provocative. And it's like, no, it was hot. And then also I have burns on my breasts. So they thought my nipples were out. And then they were like, oh, we got a can. I'm like, no, that's just burns. So like the outfit is the thing. It's also the thing that people are going to, people get tired of seeing people in shorts and jeans and da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, some of the outfits, I think, when you have a problem with is because they're not wearing something that makes sense for them.
Yeah. Right? Exactly.
So I try to, like, my style is very, like, funky and unique. I definitely dress up whenever I'm taping something. I wear my wild colors, my hair, the whole thing, colored hair, everything. When I'm doing, like, if you catch me at the Cellar, any of the clubs around New York City, I'm probably going to be wearing leggings or, like, shirt, definitely, like, a cap. When I'm trying to create or craft my set, it is more important for me to be able to create and craft it without people judging my look.
Yeah.
Than when I have it all set and together, and then I can be like, okay, and also this is how I'm going to present it in this outfit. But there's we're listen, I am a in-between comic, which means that, I studied the greats and, was the whole idea of how comedy was in the 70s and the 80s is still in my head, and the integrity that you had to have, the level of professionalism, the, really finding your way. And then, my generation of comedy sort of got untethered because of like reality television. So a lot of us didn't get touched, but we got a chance to really grow in the clubs, right? And so now when this generation that is happening now is meeting the generation that I was in, it's sort of this sort of world where people are like, oh my God, you're so amazing. Like, you're new. And it's like, no, I've been doing comedy for like 20 years.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I think it was Louis who said it, like somebody once asked him, like, what was it like when, overnight you became like a celebrity? And it's like, this was not overnight.
Right.
Like the last jump might have been overnight, but it was 30 fucking years before this.
Yeah.
So, what the audience might see or know is very different than,
it's
what were you doing when you were 16? Were you on stage at 16 or you're like working in the clubs?
I was at the Comedy Store. I was taking classes with Sandy Shore, may she rest in peace, Pauly Shore's sister. And my mother got me into stand-up because I moved to Los Angeles from Maryland to go to the LA County High School for the Arts and study theater.
Oh, wow.
So I was really into theater. I was very boring and didn't like the idea of comedy or any type of humor.
What? Just in general?
As
a kid who's like, I don't want to laugh. I don't like funny things. You were boring shit.
Yeah, no, because I was studying, like I was studying the theory. I was, being classically trained in the theater.
Yeah.
And there was a certain form of, or just a certain way you held yourself in, like old
totally.
school.
Yeah.
So it was just like, to me, anybody could be a fool. And my mother started taking stand-up classes. Don't even ask. That's such a long story. Don't ask me why she did that.
She was going through some shit, huh? Gotta get out of the fucking house.
No, my mother was an audio and video engineer for PBS for many years, and also traveled around the country as a top 40 disc jockey for like
So
top 40. Yeah.
So kind of in the family, a little bit entertainment
but
and
she
theater
just
and
did
all
everything.
Shit,
She was like, I'm not gonna let anything hold me down, and hooray for her because she's the reason why I'm the way that I am.
Yeah.
But I just wasn't interested in it, and then my mom wanted me to do it, and I said no. And they just happened to offer it my senior year in high school as an
No shit?
Yeah, they offered stand-up.
Stand-up?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
And my
How fun is that?
my first stand-up teacher was Mr. Norman Cohen, who I probably was a little bit of a teacher's pet with him. I adored this man. He was brilliant, and when he decided to teach the stand-up, I decided to take it and bombed my audition, and then was very upset. I was like, what do you mean?
I'm a stubborn. Yeah.
I'm amazing.
Yeah.
And then so, but and it's
and so like the acting you're doing at that point is like Shakespearean shit, like you're doing like dramas and it's all very serious.
It's a lot of in-depth sense memory, character recall, biography, and we were doing a lot of things that required us to go into a lot of dark places and unlock doors so that we could call emotion when necessary. And people think that the best emotion and the most incredible emotion to evoke is tears and sadness and to cause somebody to cry. And then when I got in stand-up, I realized it's easier to make people cry.
Isn't it?
It isn't make people laugh.
Like comedy, I think is the hardest and most impressive. And if you could teach that, like I don't think you can teach that. That's why I think it's so.
I'm glad you brought that up because as you were describing, I was thinking I was surprised that you started with drama and theater and things like that and got to comedy. Because I remember, I think it was Rob McElhaney from Sunny was saying. Someone was congratulating him on doing he did a pandemic episode of Mythic Quest, and it was very emotional.
Yeah.
And he's like, dude, this is the easy part. I know what makes people sad. I know what makes people scared.
Yeah.
I don't everyone's universal in that.
Right.
Comedy, like everyone's very different. It's much, much harder to get someone to laugh than it is to get someone to cry.
And laugh consistently.
Yeah.
Like you might find one thing that works.
Yeah.
And make them laugh that night, but you got to make them laugh the next night and the next night and the next night.
Well, I think I've learned to break the barrier of, consistent laughter is key.
Mm-hmm.
What I've learned is I like my favorite parts of when everybody's quiet and I'm not saying anything. And we have just those moments where people are waiting. Because when I first started doing comedy, it was very rushed. Because I was scared about that. Like, I don't want to.
That
and if
silence
I'm not,
is scary.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, I'm not doing my job.
Right.
And then it's like, no, like, I want you to anticipate what's happening.
Uh-huh.
And also, I want to anticipate what's happening because maybe I decided to go a different way with this crowd than, but failure has been my best friend, in this career. First, I was trying to find my way. Grew up, parochial school, suburbs of Maryland, really sheltered, Christian. Then I just went wild and rogue, and then I became sort of a brat, and people probably up until recently didn't really like me on certain regards because I was challenging and aggressive, and I was really like that on stage. And then now it's not that I'm at a place of like, but it's the time that we take to just feel my feelings before I address any other feelings, so that I am more accurate about the things that I say. Like if I ever go in on somebody in a certain way, it used to be very much like, like that. And now it's just sort of like, yeah, we'll get to that, but is anybody else agitated by this person? Because sometimes if it's just me,
then that's a you problem.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
If it's just me and they're not, that's why sometimes when I'm telling people, like, please, when I see people in the audience and they're sitting next to somebody who's loud and they're just like, and I'm like, please don't look like that because now you're going to make me say something to them. And I'm trying not to say something to them, But I try to make it as fun as possible. But it's all live. It's all in the moment. You're never going to duplicate it. And I guess the long way around what I was trying to get back to is like with specials, all we're trying to do is duplicate what's happening in the club. And it's impossible because those people know they're coming to see somebody be taped.
Yeah.
You already have the stuff taped. Some people have it in the prompters, or you have a set list in which you have to go, not even so much because you want to, but because production has to know where you're going. There may be light cues. There are all kinds of things. People who are dependent upon the words that you say at certain times for things to happen.
It's trying to recreate something that was
It's
a
not.
one-time thing, really.
You have to look at specials different than you look at going. And I think that's what happens. Sometimes people go see it live and they're like, well, how come it's like that? And it's like, well, this special was edited and there's a couple of cuts of it and people went over it meticulously and put, that's why I thought what Rock did was so amazing because he went live on Netflix to do stand-up and then people still had the audacity to judge him harshly when it was like, do you know how hard that is to go? Not that he went live.
Right.
You saw the flub and the joke. Like
I actually love that, like seeing the flub though, and he just said like, "Oh, I fucked it up," and he kept it moving.
But
and
the
then,
vibe,
and then they fixed it, and it's like, "Oh, that's how it usually happens."
But it's
like,
the vibe. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, there's a difference when I can lay back and go, we're going to get a couple cuts of this. I got an amazing director. Somebody going to put this together.
No matter what,
and then we're going to put it out. And the sound's going to come up and the flow. And you're going to be like, oh, that all went perfect. They don't know I had flop sweat, titty sweat. My big boobs came out. Somebody farted in the audience. You know what I'm saying? I forgot a line. Hello. They come up with a towel. All these things are happening that has been brushed away from you.
Yeah.
That was the first time that we had somebody streaming live, doing stand-up. No matter what happens, the world could have exploded at that point. We were watching it.
Yeah.
So have a little bit, this is me being a comic, but like sometimes I wish people have a little bit of grace when they come in to see stand-up because it would make it a lot easier than this sort of level of perfection.
Well, you know what I found? I feel like when people go to a club, they're like, that was the funniest thing I've ever seen.
Of course.
And then when they watch a special at home, they'll be like, it was all right.
Yeah.
And, like,
That is true.
Two different, like, mindsets. Like, I don't know, maybe you're a little bit drunk. Maybe you're just like, wow, I'm in the club. But I do it too. Everybody, the openers for the openers, the fucking, everybody I'm like, this is the funniest person I've ever heard. I'm literally like every single person I've seen in that moment, I'm like, that's the funniest person alive. But then when I sit down to watch a special, I'm like, all right, let's see what they got. And for whatever reason, it's like a different scale or some shit. I don't know why.
I think it's. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I think I don't know if the statistic is real, but I know the Cellar is doing the theater. I was at a movie recently, and they were promoting the fact that the Cellar is going to do some shows in theaters.
We did it out one already.
You did one already, really? How'd it go? And this said,
finish. I'll talk.
It said that again. I have no idea the statistics real, and I don't know how you even get it. But you laugh 33% more in a group than you do alone.
That has to be true because
like that it's just laughter's contagious,
yeah.
and I think even more so than
like,
contagious is that like you're worried you're gonna look dumb because you don't get the joke.
Yeah.
So you just laugh.
That's totally
and then you're in laugh mode.
But even like TV shows, like I'll sit down and watch Always Sunny, and sometimes I'll laugh out loud. But if I'm by myself, most of the time I'll just go like, "That is so goddamn funny."
Yeah.
Like in my head, I'm just like, "Wow, that is funny." But I'm not like, but when you're with people, you let it rip.
Yeah, I think I almost wonder if the people that you thought were so amazing were the people that at some point you felt they made a connection to you.
Like they said something.
Yeah.
Usually it's when somebody says something like that, I'm like, I thought I was the only person who ever thought that thought. And, you thought that too? That like whatever the topic is. And I think there's a lot more of that like in the moment in the club as opposed to a special. You got to make evergreen jokes. It's got to be, like you said, perfect and tied in a bow, as opposed to just like, hey, don't you think this way about this thing? And I'm like, yes, I do. And then, then it's on. Then I'm like, oh,
well, I
get
think people
this
who
person.
also gear to their audience, right? Like, it's always funny because I get a lot of guys who are like, oh, women aren't funny. Or if I'm funny, like, oh, you're the only woman that's funny. And it's like, dude, I don't.
People still say that.
Yeah, they say. But the thing about it is,
remember when I was like 16? I'll admit I did think it, but
right. No, but it's a part of culture. But it's also the thing that people will say. I mean, it's obvious that you're going to say something about, if you don't like me, my lack of humor. That's the thing you would go to. But also, it's like I give zero cares about whether you like me or not, because the people that are tuned into me that I connect with, those are the people I want to connect with. I'm not trying to gain the whole world and lose my soul. I'm trying to be very specific to who I am, and I know there's a lot of people who are like me, so I really appreciate, not even my fans, like friends, I call them, family, I call them, because we're on the same vibe. But a lot of times when you're watching specials from home, you're watching somebody else having a good time with somebody else.
Yeah.
And you're sort of removed from that.
fly on
Unless
the
you're
wall.
like a huge fan of this person and you're like, oh, but when we did for the Cellar, we were in theaters, like 48 theaters around the country, and they streamed us live. And I put on for it.
Yeah.
I did. I really put in a lot of like I had on this pink outfit, like a tactical vest, and
Tactical vest.
Yeah, I'm like, it was pink. I'm like vibing. I'm funky. Like, I'm a badass when I'm on stage, and I like to show that in my outfits. And I had a lot of fun with that audience. And when people saw it, because we had some people that came out that went to go see it in the theaters, and then the feedback is that it felt really connected. And I think the thing that was different than watching a special that's been edited and watching us stream live from the Cellar into theaters is that it's all happening in the moment. Nobody's going back cutting. Everything that's happening in the room, we're all acknowledging. So it was just more of I'm not watching them. I'm also watching this live.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you know, because we've talked about trying to do some live streaming at home, not in theaters. It would just be like through a Barstool website, and we would link up with a club, and you could just watch, on your living room couch with your family, your roommates, whatever. Do you know, like, what so you said people were, like, connected and all that, but did a lot of people stream it? Was there good results? Do you know how that all performed?
Well, the Cellar, shout out to, obviously Noam, who owns the Cellar, and Esty, who is the booker, and Liz, the GM, and I'll also say Val. I don't want to forget anybody, but I started naming people. Like, you don't say me. But I love. They have the best staff in the entire world at the Comedy Cellar, from the wait staff to the bar. Everyone. I just love everybody over there. Noam's been doing a lot of stuff with the Cellar. It's been growing. We've opened up more rooms, and he has worked with Mint Comedy. That puts it on, and shout out to Arnold who does it. So in terms of like the numbers and stuff, I would have to defer to them. Mm-hmm. But the responses, we've been doing live shows, or at least I have, with Mint through the Cellar for maybe like a year and a half or so. And my friends sometimes know before, like they know I'm on it before I do. And they're oh, can't wait to see you tonight. I'm like, because I game, so a lot of my gaming friends are like, oh, we heard about da-da-da, and I'm like, or they're like, why are you still playing around? And I'm like, oh, I can do one more game in Fortnite. And they're like, oh, you got to get it. And I'm like, yeah. So they. Is
that what you play, Fortnite?
I'm big into Fortnite. GTA used to be really big into. Yeah. Oh my God! And shout out to everybody over at Rockstar. Yeah. I've had a lot of opportunities to go in and stream with them. They're amazing. I got Red Dead.
Dude. You gotta teach me how to beat the first level.
Oh, come on, let's do it.
John gets the itch. Once a year, he gets the itch to become a gamer, and then he realizes he sucks.
I'm so bad. It's crazy how bad.
You gotta go through my academy.
Red Dead is not easy.
No, Red Dead is not easy.
You gotta like dedicate time.
But
figure that shit out.
No, it is the time. Yeah. The thing about Red Dead is it's time and dedication, and it's also you trying to fight cats with muskets and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's old school.
Right.
GTA is so immersive that the first time I played GTA, when I was the next day, my first instinct was to put my hand on this cop car and open the door. Like I was like,
I was in a car the next day, like I could just run these people over.
Right? It's like, that's why you have to game responsibly. Like you have to game. But once I started playing Fortnite, I don't want to say I love Rockstar. I'm going to tell you, like, I have to be honest. Fortnite, GTA started moving slow. So I can't wait for the next one because I hope it's like, yeah. You know what I mean? Because with Fortnite.
I think the next GTA is going to, like, smash.
No, the storylines are incredible.
No, they don't get the credit they deserve. Like, if someone writes a movie that is that great of a story, you win Oscars, you get all this acclaim. People who write video game storylines, they make a boatload of money. Nobody knows what they are.
They just get hundreds of millions of dollars.
Who needs recognition when you got...
I sold $700 million in a day, bro. But nobody knows them, and it's like...
Yeah. It is crazy.
No,
everyone sucks James Cameron's dick for fucking Avatar. It's like, these guys are making that like every day there's a new Avatar. Like, they come up with this shit all the time.
It's very, very impressive.
Do you ever check your gaming stats? Like, so I don't know if you know Lil Sasquatch, he's a comedian, and I was talking to him the other day, and he was just like very down, and I was like, what's the matter with you? And he's like, dude, I just learned that like I've played 15 days of Call of Duty. He's like 24 hours. Like 15 full days.
Yeah.
2 weeks.
He's like, the game's been out for a year. I was like, bro, you have spent 15 days in the last year on a video game?
Bro, I'm sure that's like the low end.
Right.
And to be, my cats take a shit to me playing Fortnite. Like, that's how they know when to go to litter box. I'm telling you, every time Brooklyn's always like, oh, Fortnite. I'm playing a lot.
Are you streaming like are you like trying to earn off that, or that's just for fun?
No, it's so just for fun. But here's the thing. Am I trying to earn off of it? Listen, if my manager's listening, yes.
Yeah.
I'm in a special category because I'm a Gen Xer who plays. So I'm like a woman in her 40s who plays. Mm-hmm. Which is
that's a very rare category.
Yeah. But it's really like.
See, I bet brands would be like, "Yo, link up with her."
That's
she's
why
one
my
of very,
manager's
very
like,
few.
"Come on, like get." But I don't know, the love of it. I just turn it on, and I have people like we'll have like a small group of people. Like, I'm really nasty with it. My tag name is Yelling Girl. That's with 2 G's. I don't like when I tell you, like, I've lost friends. I can't understand why you would get on a game and not be proficient at that game. And if you not, tell me so I can make the adjustments.
I'll adjust to you, yeah.
Right. So I've like me and one of my best friends, Mayron Kagani, we have broken up. He is a gamer, but he likes all these fairy, wizard, warlocks, and he does Dungeons and Dragons. I don't know if I'm supposed to be saying it. He's gonna yell at me, but he does like I call it the Nerd Fest at his house, and we fight the most when he plays Fortnite with me because I'm like, what are you doing? And there's real kids live. These kids are like hopped up on cocaine and they 7 years old and they ready to go. And especially when they're out for the summer, and there are people like, can you give me, like, you got to be patient with me. I'm like, the kids aren't patient. They're fighting, And so he's like, girl, I can't take you. And I'm just like, oh man. But he gets nasty about his own thing. Cause I'm like, can you teach me this nerd stuff? And probably why I was gonna say nerd stuff.
Hey, can you teach me all this lame ass shit?
All your loser stuff. I want to learn how to be a loser like you. Can you help me?
I'm a super nerd, but no, Dungeons and Dragons. It intrigues me because it's so like there's a history and it's complicated.
That shit's immersive. When you get in that, it's like
and I hate to not know something, so I'm like begging him, but he's like, "You're not gonna mess up my game." But I'm like, "You come and mess up Fortnite, we fall out over it." So, but yeah, I love gaming. It calms me.
That's the opposite for most people. I feel like most people just end up getting fucking ramped up and dropping a racial slur. And then
listen, I don't even mind. Like, I'm like, can you please call me the N-word? The problem is when people say lady or you sound like my grandma. I'm like, what? Oh, but you're 5. You know how young your grandma is? She's 27. Geek.
Please call me the N-word. It's funny.
I hate for somebody to call me their grandma, auntie. You sound old. No, I don't. And then I listen back and I go, oh, yeah, I definitely have dropped a few octaves as I've gotten older.
I want to go back to bombing at the Apollo. What was that? That had to have been
the worst day of your life.
Yeah, let's
run that back.
That. I mean, that is something that, in a weird way, though, it's almost like, I'm sure when it happened, you were not thinking this, but now that you've gone through it, it's like a badge of honor to be like, because like you said, once you've done that, you can do, I could go to an actual war. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, because I died on stage.
Right.
And I don't say that, I want to be very clear because I've had some friends who actually died on stage. So I don't want to like get those. But what I mean is my spirit was broken on that stage. And the worst thing I think could happen to me other than actually passing away on stage is the way in which people show me they did not like me immediately.
Yeah. So they just boo, right? I mean, it's just like they're encouraged to just like, if you like it, you cheer, and if you don't, it's just like, get the fuck off, right?
Okay, so I'm going to give you the quick version because this story is all over the internet.
Sure.
And it's actually how people have started following me in the very beginning because I think I was a story of survival for a lot of people who also felt like they had been let down in whatever career path or dream that they had. I wanted to do Showtime at the Apollo because I thought it was a legacy thing, right? There were certain things I wanted to do before I was 30. I wanted to go on Showtime at the Apollo and succeed. I wanted to be on SNL and succeed. I wanted to Just for Laughs, all of that. I had these certain milestones before I turned 30. Went on, had an opportunity to audition for Showtime at the Apollo, and did well at the audition. Where people aren't hyped up on whatever shit they hyped up on, and it's And I went out there. I just think immediately I had like a mushroom. For those of you who don't know, mushrooms is like I had my hair curled, but like under, like Daphne from Scooby-Doo. And I had on glasses. I had this geeky little shirt on. And I said something about roaches. And immediately they booed me. Immediately. And I stood there because you kind of like, you leave your body and like, they can't, Why
Can't
would
possibly
they?
be me.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, is it that bad? And then I remember getting danced off, and then I went on the wrong side where the winners go.
No, and you had to-
then they were like, "No, you got to go back." And I was like, "No, let me just stay here till the world ends." And
So
they
we
were
just
like,
give you a gun right now.
right. Like, just let me stay here. Like, who cares? I'm not
Yeah.
gonna go out with the winner. They're like, nah, yeah. So when I walked back on the stage to go back across to where the losers go, they booed me going across the stage. They booed me when I walked out the theater because I didn't want to stay there with her. Because when you come back and you've been booed, nobody wants to talk to you or touch you. You feel like you've like got cooties. So as they booed me as I walked out, they had to restart the other act that was on the stage at the time because it wasn't for her, it was for me.
Oh my God.
And
Jesus.
then I got booed on the train ride home.
No
Some guys recognized
way.
me. And then as they started booing me, the rest of the train recognized that they recognized me. And I got booed all the way from 125th Street to 68th Street, Hunter College on the 6th.
Walk out.
And I was like...
You got booed for 60 blocks?
That's it.
Dude.
My
Even on
roommate
the
who came at the
Express,
time
that shit's
left me. No, it was. So what happened was when I got, because I had to tell you, all the people are like, we've heard this, but for the people who haven't, I was so low. My roommate had left me. She was like, girl, I'll catch you at home. And one of the PAs from the show was like, I can take the train with you. I was just like really down and sort of like wandering. And I remember went to the payphone. This is how old I am. And I used a calling card to call my mom.
I remember that shit. I remember calling
Right,
cars. Yep.
So not only am I like crying, I'm like, gotta look at these numbers. And it's like 55 numbers.
Yep.
And then I call my mom and I had that silence. And my mom, who never cops to this, by the way, she goes, I didn't do that. I go, yes, you did. Okay. And she picked up the phone, and there's a silence. And she's like, Yami, what's going on? And I was like, I got booed on the Apollo. And she's like, I told you not to go. She was so mad because she told me not to go, and she hung up. I was so furious with me because I told you not to go. My mom was 100% behind me doing stand-up. And when I first moved to New York, she had researched all these classes, and she had got me in at New York Comedy Club to take stand-up classes, and she was like, you should keep studying stand-up and all. So she was very, committed to me and being in stand-up, and she didn't want me to present myself for the first time ever in a bad light, because, it's hard to recover from that. When people see you bomb, they're like, oh, you're done. You know, you don't hardly ever get another chance, or there has to be a lot of time distance before you get a chance. So, she was very upset about that. And I just happened to get on the train, this PA was with me, and he was just talking to me. He was like, you're so fun and funny, and what do you think happened? And we would just happen to be talking about it, and there were 3 young guys standing next to us, and they were like, are you talking about Showtime at the Apollo? We were just there. And the PA that I was with, he was like, yeah, she was on the amateur hour. And I don't think he did it deliberately. It was just like out of conversation.
Well, he probably also didn't think they were going to be fucking animals
Right,
and start
right.
booing the public.
Right.
He probably thought they were going to say, oh, wow.
Right, yeah, yeah.
You go get it next time.
No.
Let me boo this girl till we hit fucking Grand Central.
They booed. The guy said, he said, oh, that's Shorty.
Oh, Jesus.
He was like, yeah. And the guy was like, do you guys remember what she was talking about? You remember why you booed? Like, what? He was like, nah, she said some shit about roaches. He was like, we got roaches. And he was like, boo. And his boy was like, yeah, boo. And then they started booing. And then people were like, what's going on? And they was like, oh, that's the girl who's on Apollo. And they was like, oh, that girl we booed. Oh, boo. And so then so it was so loud. People at each stop were trying to get on the train. And they was just like running to the next car because they didn't know what was happening. Was it a fight? Was it a bad game or something? And the guy was like, let's get off the... And I was like, no, I'm not going anywhere. I'm like, I'm just going to ride these all the way home. Forget it.
That's the difference, though. I feel like, that's probably why you are where you are today, because a lot of people would have ran. But you were literally, like, facing the music in that moment. But it's kind of figurative, too. Like,
go? Where?
They probably would have got off and followed you to the fucking local. Like, we're going to transfer with this girl.
I used to have this like video series called One Thing I Learned, where we'd tell stories and we'd have them animated. And it's like this great cartoonist would do all these things. It'd be like a 5-10 minute video. And I would love to do that with
Yeah,
you
that
one
would be
day.
amazing.
Oh, I would love that. I would love that.
do
And
that for
anime
real.
was on my
Let's
lane.
set
I
We've
would
been
love
thinking
that.
about bringing it back with comedians and guests and things like that, and this is the first one I've heard
You
where
sit
I'm like,
and tell it, but then it also cuts to a cartoon version of you going through it.
I love that. No, I love
Amazing.
that. I do. I would love to do that.
That
this is I'm going to you. This is the first story because we've been talking about bringing it back for a while, and this is the first story where I'm like,
Let's-
that's an unbelievable
have to.
one thing I
Have to.
learned.
Look
Have
at
to.
God. Look at God, right? Yeah.
All right, I love it. I know they got you booked for another show, so we'll wrap it up here. You got live shows coming up?
I do have live shows coming up. I'm at the Cellar this week, I think. I just got back into town, and I was like, Essie, I forgot to tell you I'm back. So she's giving me something, so I don't know. I don't remember what they were. I'll be at the Atlanta Comedy Club the 22nd through the 24th of September, and the 28th through October 1st, I'll be back in Las Vegas doing Skank Fest.
Oh, right.
So, it's been a couple of years since I've done it. And I was there in the very beginning. I have a lot of love for the guys over there, Big J, Dan Soder, Louis J. Rebecca is doing all the behind the scenes, Christine. If there's anybody that I'm missing, I'm so sorry, but I'm just there to be with them and have a good time, so I look forward to doing that.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thank
Love
you so
it.
much,
Thank you so
Johnny.
much.
It's
Thank
great
you for
talking
having
to
me,
you.
guys.
All right, big thanks for watching. If you made it through this whole episode, that means you should be subscribed. There's so many of you out there who watch and don't subscribe, so make sure you are a KFC Radio subscriber. Make sure you get all the content when it drops. Click that button now.
I have 9 fingers. I'm still subscribed. It's that easy.